Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into worn leather sandals at dawn's edge, where Gaulish basket weavers met mornings with calloused hands and reed-scented air. Picture this. You stir as amber sunbeams stab through your hut's thatch roof, each straw strand glowing like molten copper. The village rooster's still snoring, lazy bastard, which means you've beaten the sun itself awake. Barefoot on packed earth, you count clay pots lining the wall, 17 vessels holding yesterday's river harvest. Your eldest daughter yawns, a sound like a creaking loom, her toes already sliding toward the water jars. Typical Gaulish huts stood under 10 feet tall. Historians confirm that. But yours feels cavernous, with sleep still clinging to its corners. She drags a finger across a pot's rim, cold droplets flecking her tunic. You smirk. Teenagers move with the urgency of snails in honey. Outside, the Einan River gossips over rocks, its voice threading through your half-open door. Dawn leaks across your village like mead from a cracked jug, golden and inevitable. Fetch the griddle. You mutter words slurred with residual dreams. She groans, a masterpiece of adolescent despair, but reaches for the crescent-shaped iron. Your fingers brush last night's embers, still warm as a nesting hen. A spark leaps onto dry moss. Flames bloom like impatient wildflowers. Fun fact, Celtic hearths were considered legal entities, actual witnesses in property disputes. Try explaining that to your landlord. The fire pops, a pine knot hissing like a scorned cat. You knead barley dough, knuckles cracking in protest, while tracing shadows on the wall. Thatch overhead smells of river mud and rosemary. Someone wove herbs into the roof, probably grandmother's anti-mosquito witchcraft. Debate rages whether ancient weavers added scents for pests or spirits. Your coins on spite. Your daughter slumps against a support beam, face pale as uncooked dough. Still no rain, she mumbles. You flick flour at her, powder snowing across tangled black curls. Channel that gloom into kneading, you say. She glares, but her hands sink into the loaf. Outside, a donkey brays, your neighbor's eternal alarm clock. Chickens rouse themselves in slow motion, feathers puffed against dawn's chill. 3 quick knocks, your brother's signature rap. He bursts in smelling of sheep dung and arrogance. The Roman roads got new ruts, he announces, as if this merits a trophy. You toss him a fig, it bounces off his chest. Eat something before your wisdom starves us all. He crunches the fruit whole seeds and all. Merchants arrive by noon. Might want decent baskets this time. Your daughter's dough slams onto the stone, a quiet rebellion. Her last creation listed sideways, like a drunk bard. You catch her eye, both stifle grins. Sunlight licks the hearthstones, now warmth crawling up your calves. A clay cup warms your palm, mint steeping in stolen silence. The village awakens in layers. Toddlers' wails, axes splitting wood distantly, a hammer ringing on bronze. Your brother sucks fig pulp from his teeth. Need 6 baskets. not your flimsy ceremonial ones. Flimsy. Your daughter's head jerks up, dough hanging midair. You raise a hand, feel 50 generations of weavers judging your restraint. 2 amphorae of cider, you counter, and Chemaros fixes our plow. His nose wrinkles, a boar scenting danger. Historians still argue whether Gauls traded through barter or coins. You've seen both, and 3-knife fights over chicken valuations. Finally, he nods, cider undiluted. The rooster finally screams, a sound like a rusty hinge. Your daughter mimics it perfectly. Your laugh bursts free, scattering sparrows outside. Iron griddle hisses as dough meets heat, scented with crushed hazelnuts. You flip the bread, edges charring like sunset clouds. Wind sneaks through the door, carrying smoke and distant thunder. Summer storms brew past the sacred grove. You taste metal on your tongue. The first bite of bread sticks to your ribs, a edible shield against dawn's sharpness. Your brother gulps water straight from the jar, a trail cutting through his beard. Mind the reed stalks, he says, already retreating. Don't want the Egyptian king's taxman sniffing our yields. You freeze. Fringe theorists claim Gauls traded directly with pharaohs, but that's ill talk. Still, the dyer's wife swears she met a linen-clad trader last autumn. Your daughter scowls at her lopsided loaf. It's rustic, you offer. She tears it angrily, steam escaping like a sigh. Rustic's what we call ugly and useful, she mutters. Outside, 2 children sprint past, clay dolls clutched in grubby hands. Their mother chases them, cursing in that melodic way that promises later sweets. You lean against the doorframe, rough wood biting your shoulder. The eastern sky bleeds yolk yellow now. Your shadow stretches long and thin across the floor. Reed baskets by the loom catch your eye, their patterns whispering of spring floods and steady hands. Each twist holds ancestry, and tonight's unfinished mending. You touch a frayed edge, the split as familiar as your own fingerprints. Dawn's past the bargaining stage. Full daylight demands work. Your daughter drags a willow bundle inside, leaves rustling like anxious whispers. Grandmother's mixing dyes, she warns. You grimace. That means woad-stained fingers for days, the price of azure brilliance. The fire sighs, its heat, now a persistent guest. You pour cooled mint tea into a cracked cup, the one surviving your youngest's. Help last harvest, liquid trembles for a heartbeat. You see your mother's face reflected in the surface. A dog's bark shatters the moment, high-pitched and relentless. Your brother's sheepdog, no doubt, terrorizing that Carthaginian merchant's mule again. You sip bitter tea, let it scorch away the memory's edges. Thatch needs repairing, your daughter observes, peeling a reed stem with practiced fingers. You nod, rain's kiss becomes a fist in winter. For now, sunlight stitches golden threads through every gap. Footsteps echo on the path, the dyer's wife, with indigo-streaked arms. She hesitates at your threshold, eyes flicking to the hearth. Storm coming, she says, as if announcing the moon's phase. You gesture to the fire, always space for one more. She settles cross-legged, warmth chasing goosebumps from her arms. No one speaks. The bread's last crumbs dissolve in your palm, the quiet stretching like well-kneaded dough. 3 women, a smoldering hearth, and a morning holding its breath before the loom's first click-clack. The first embers glow like wolf eyes in the hearth, pine resin popping a morning greeting. You knead barley dough against a worn stone slab, fingernails caked with yesterday's river mud. 3 small shadows sway behind you, your son's feet kicking the bench as he listens. Tell the goat story again. His voice cracks halfway through goat. You snort louder than intended. Flour drifts through sunbeams as you stretch the elastic mass, your knuckles remembering great-grandmother's lesson. 3 parts grain to 1 water, the ratio unchanged since Brennus sacked Rome. Historians still argue whether Gaulish ovens could reach hot enough to bake true leavened bread. You know the trick. Buried clay pots radiate heat long after flames die. Patience shaping air pockets better than haste. Your daughter pokes the dough's dimpled surface, finger sinking to her first knuckle. Like bog mud, she yelps when you flick flour at her nose. The fire hisses, a drop of sap sliding down charred wood. You recount the market's chaos, how Kai's prize ram escaped and headbutted the bronze trader's amphory, white liquid pools in the dust. The man cursing in 3 dialects as children licked splashed goat milk. Smoke tangles with the salt sweat scent of little bodies crowding close. You twist a dough chunk into spiral shapes, tribal patterns from the old Hillfort carvings. This one's Epona's horse you lie, patting a lumpy triangle. The middle child squints, too clever by half, but accepts the story with jam-smeared grace. A cooled hearthstone sears your calf through wool. You jump sideways into the toddler's giggle. Morning rituals demand burnt offerings, apparently. Your skin agrees. The loaf takes shape, a flattened oval, because the twins helped knead. Dark specks dot the surface, time stolen from last night's stew pinch by pinch. Through the open doorway, your neighbor's laughter bounces across the compound. Their fire pit smoke spirals counterclockwise, a bad omen according to Auntie Drustin. You hum louder to drown out her inevitable critique later. The dough rests under linen, your palms sticky with the promise of sustenance. Warmth spreads up your spine as the fire licks iron-rimmed coals. 1 child traces faces in the flour dust, crude lines that might be dogs or chariots. You swipe a finger through their art, adding antlers to the mess. Their gasp holds more delight than the autumn festival bonfire. Sunlight crawls across packed earth, your shadow merging with the children's as the loaf swells. 5 generations of yeast work in that clay bowl, though truth told, you've had to restart the batch twice after mice got in. The Romans' sourdough starter sits unused under the loom, your husband's gift, still sealed with wax. Tradition sticks harder than burnt porridge. Your son licks dough remnants off the slab, a habit elders say invites wood sprites. You tousle his hair, feeling the skull's ridges beneath damp curls. Let spirits come. The hearth's warmth guards this ritual, this daily alchemy of grind and flame. Smoke catches in your throat, a woody tang older than Julius Caesar's first breath. The first loaves, underside sizzles against hot stones. Steam carries memories, winter mornings, huddled around this same fire, grandfather's voice, recounting the Idui uprising. Children's teeth sink into crusts before the bread cools, their yelps harmonizing with the rooster's late crow. You grin, a stolen moment of chaos, before the reeds demand attention. The Einan River's song pulls you downstream, its currents humming through worn sandals. Reeds sway like drowsy sentinels, their green blades brushing your thighs as you wade. Your father's shadow stretches ahead, knife handle protruding from his belt like a sundial's gnomon. Gaulish basket makers relied on riverbanks for centuries, though historians still debate whether patterns encoded messages or mere decoration. You suspect both, watching his fingers test each stem's flexibility. Not the young shoots, his voice carries over the water's chuckle. Harvest the ones that have felt 3 frosts. A kingfisher darts past, its blue streak reflects in the wet blade. You mimic his thumb and forefinger pinch, feeling for the slight give beneath waxy surfaces. The riverbed squelches your toes, curling around cool stones smoothed by 1,000 springs. Someone's offering clinks in the shallows, a bronze brooch half submerged in silt. You pocket it instinctively. Better to return it downstream than risk offending the river spirit. Old tailies whisper of votives tossed in these waters, coins, weapons, even Celtic love knots spun from gold. Your sandal strap snaps mid-step, a slick rock betraying you. The Einan's chill bites your kneecap, invisible currents tugging like eager children. Mind the depth markers. Your father points to carved notches on the alder tree, faded symbols from when his grandfather fished here. 3 horizontal lines mean safe passage. 4 warn of undercurrents hungry for the careless. You count twice, 3 grooves, but the 4th hides beneath moss. Or is that root shadow? The water purrs against your shin, persistent, patient. Reeds slap your shoulders as you bend them backward, blades catching sunlight like green glass. Your knife saws through fibrous stems. The sound recalls grandmother carding wool by winter fires. Back home, baskets hold grain, bread, even sleeping infants when fieldwork calls. Archaeologists found a cradle-woven basket in Burgundy last century, still cradling a mouse skeleton after 2 millennia. A dragonfly zips past, its iridescent wings brushing your ear. You freeze knee-deep in water that's colder than a merchant's smile. Father grunts approval as your bundle grows, stems aligned by length like temple offerings. His hands move with the river's rhythm, slice, bend, twist. You note how he avoids the striped reeds. Those belong to Nantasulta, goddess of flowing things. The sun climbs its heat, tempered by mist rising off the Einan. Your fingertips prune nails clogged with river grit. A fish glides beneath your toes, its scales scraping skin. You yelp, dropping 3 reeds that drift downstream like runaway arrows. Father's chuckle rolls across the water, deeper than the current. Mind the pike. They've tasted Roman blood. You smirk, recalling last summer, when Marcus, the tax collector, waited here. His scream still haunts local frogs, or so the children claim. The reeds grow thicker ahead, their roots tangled in a mat of moss and memories. Your blade snags on a fiber, can't slice. Straight through to save a denarius. Father's shadow looms, calloused hands adjusting your grip without a word. Sweat trickles down your spine despite the chill. Flies dog your ankles, drawn to river-scented skin. You shake a leg, sending one kamikaze insect into the drink. The reeds whisper secrets as you work. How spring floods once carried Roman helmets downstream. Some claim the riverbeds littered with breastplates, but you've only ever found broken cups and fishhooks. Your pile nears father's, though his stems lie straighter, prouder. A heron watches from the far bank, judging, always judging. The river's song shifts key, dark notes beneath the babble. You glance at the alder's markings, 3 lines still, but the water swirls faster around your calves. Don't let it lull you, father wipes his blade on soaked trousers. Beltane's coming, spirits get restless. Legend says drowned warriors walk the Einan's bed during May's full moon, rusted swords in hand. You fake a shudder, but quicken your harvesting all the same. A bead of blood wells where the knife slipped, crimson swirling into the current. You murmur apology, toss a copper pin from your pocket to appease the river. Your gray tuncle swore he saw water sprites collect such trinkets, weaving them into armor for their silver-scaled infantry. Father rolls his eyes, but you notice him adding an extra stem to the offering pile. The heron takes flight, wings beating the damp air into submission. Your back protests as you heave the reeds onto dry land. Their earthy smell mingles with impending rain, a scent as old as Gaul itself. Tomorrow, these supple stems will bend to your will, becoming vessels, walls, maybe even a doll for your youngest. Father wrings water from his beard, the gray streaked with river light. 28 bundles. His nod holds more warmth than praise. You count yours, 26, plus a crooked stem that might become a whistle later. The bank squishes underfoot, each step sucking at your resolve to finish before nightfall. Sunlight slants through alder branches, gilding the reeds in liquid gold. A fish breaks the surface, its tail flicking droplets that might be laughter. You shoulder your load, muscles singing the old song of labor and lineage. The Einan's whispers follow you home, promising secrets yet unspooled in its depths. The split reeds curl across your lap like sun-warmed serpents, each twist echoing techniques older than Rome's cobbled roads. Your workbench smells of river mud and dried marjoram, the scent of every Gaulish childhood. Archaeologists would kill to find a loom this intact someday. But you're too busy untangling your youngest's first attempt. His chubby fingers mash the strands, creating something between a basket and a bird's nest. Like this, you guide his hands in the under-over rhythm, right thumb hooking beneath the rib line. His tongue pokes out, a sure sign of monumental effort. 3 broken reeds litter the dirt floor, casualties of enthusiasm. The hearth's smoke curls around your ankles, its warmth a counterpoint to the autumn chill gnawing at the hut's edges. Your sister snorts from the grain pile, looks more like a drunk hedgehog than a basket. She's been grinding spelt for the 3rd hour, her jokes growing sharper with each rotation of the quern. You flick a reed scrap at her. It sticks in her hair like a wonky laurel. The children howl, your youngest abandoning his weaving to pelt her with chaff. Patterns emerge beneath your calluses, zigzags recalling river currents, diamonds mirroring fish scales. Historians still argue whether these motifs marked clan loyalties or just pleased the eye. You know the truth. They're what happens when fingers remember what minds forget. Grandmother's voice rasps from the corner, her spindle whirring as she supervises. Tighter. That barley'll spill faster than a Celtiberian's promise. A reed snaps, your needle slips, and stabs the meat of your thumb. You suck the wound, tasting iron and river residue. 3 baskets already line the wall, squat vessels for apples, slender ones for herbs. A lopsided beauty that'll hold your brother's fishing tackle. Dappled sunlight patterns the floor. It's the golden hour when gnats swarm and dogs nap in dusty hollows. Your youngest abandons, weaving entirely, now threading reed strips through the dog's fur. The hound tolerates it, perhaps hoping for a bread crust bribe. You hum an old hymn to Cyrna, goddess of healing springs, as your needles dance. Passers-by would hear the reeds creak at your sister's gossip, the rhythmic thump of dough being kneaded next door, a villager's symphony. The trick with rib construction clicks suddenly, your fingers tensioning the uprights until they sing. This basket might actually hold water, or at least a particularly sedentary frog. Grandmother nods approval, her missing tooth making the gesture look like a threat. Now teach the boy the double knot for handles. He's asleep, head pillowed on the dog's flank. Reed scraps clutched in one fist. You finish the knot anyway, the motion ingrained deeper than muscle memory. 23 winters you've woven, since your hands were smaller than his. Outside, a cart creaks past loaded with late pumpkins, their orange bellies glowing in the slanted light. Twilight seeps into the hut like bad news. Your sister lights tallow candles, their smoke adding another layer to the hut's perfume. The finished baskets form a shadowy audience, their woven sides holding stories yet to be poured. Somewhere, a Roman merchant will underestimate their strength, learn too late that Gaulish reeds bend, but never break. You pluck a stray thread from your tunic, toss it into the hearth. The flame hisses, a tiny sacrifice to Brigid, patroness of craftsmen. Tomorrow's market will test your work, sour-faced traders poking for flaws. But tonight, the reeds rest, the dog snores, your son dreams of whatever children dream when their world smells of river and home. Grandmother's voice slices through the candle smoke, a rasp spinning darker, threads into dusk. Diane's sect once mended Nuada silver hand, with a talcum arm flexible as willow, yet hard as war. Her spindle whirs counterpoint to the tale your needles still, as the hut holds its breath. Experts think the Tuatha De Danann's skills came from northern lands, or maybe divine hiccups. You're more focused on how her story mirrors your hands, twisting reeds into something that outlives flesh. The fire pops, a spark lands near your youngest's foot. He doesn't stir, still conked out on the hound. Your sister mouths silver arm. With raised brows, you shrug. Grandmother's legends always weaponize the mundane. She jabs a bony finger at your half-finished basket. That crossweave's sloppier than a fur bog's haircut. Listen, her tail unfurls, Diane's sect forging liquid metal into living limb. The healer god's jealousy when his son outshines him. How willow sap sealed warrior wounds. Your thumbs work the rim, tightening strands until they hum. The air smells of beeswax and dog snores. Historians still argue whether Celtic knots warded off spirits or just showed off. Grandmother insists their battle plans against entropy. Bet that silver arm made stirring stew awkward, your sister mutters. You snort, smothering laughter into a cough. 3 baskets deepen their shadows on the wall ribs, aching to hold autumn's last apples. Outside, an owl hoots. The village baker's wife claims owls are gossips from the underworld. You've heard worse theories. Grandmother glares, her story derailed. She redirects like a general. Nuada gripped his spear so tight, willow leaves sprouted between his fingers. Your palms itch at the image calluses breeding flora. The hearth's warmth strokes your neck's smoke, blurring the line between legend and lamplight. You split a reed, its pale innards damp and cool. A yawn tugs your jaw, daylight's absence weighs heavier than wet fleece. Someone should check the sheep pen. If wolves aren't just grandmother's metaphors tonight. Your sister tosses another log on the fire, sparks spiral upward like fleeing spirits. The hound twitches, pursuing dream hares. You imagine Diane's sect's workshop, clay jars of beetle wings, tinctures that could pickle time. Where he get the silver? Your youngest mumbles into the dog's fur, suddenly awake. Grandmother grins, revealing 3 remaining teeth. From the same place, you'll get patience if you keep interrupting. The threat crumbles as she resumes, voice softer now, minds deeper than Roman greed, guarded by badgers with iron claws. Your needle pricks a reed, threading memory into material. They'll excavate basket fragments centuries hence, debate if your patterns were prayers or pretension. Let them. The dog's tail thumps, a metronome synced to storytelling. You plait an extra strand into the rim, no reason beyond it feeling true. Grandmother's spindle clatters her story spent. She nods at your work, not entirely shameful. High praise. Moonlight bleeds through the smoke hole, silvers your finished baskets like Nuada's mythic arm. Somewhere, a real wolf howls. The hound's ears perk, body tense as a drawn bowstring. Your sister breaks the spell. Would have asked Diane's sect for golden hands, better tips at the market. The joke lands like a dropped ladle. No one laughs, but warmth lingers, woven into the reeds, the legends, the dog's reliable snoring. Tomorrow's challenges crouch beyond the firelight tonight. There's just your calluses and the echo of gods who crafted their own salvation. Sunlight bleaches the village square. Noon's glare turns everything bone pale. You squint at the elder tree's silhouette, its branches cradling a lone blackbird mid-song. The air hums, a hymn composed of cicadas, the river's distant chuckle, and Brid's endless griping about cochineal beetles. This batch turned corpse gray. The dyer's wife mutters, stirring a vat that smells of vinegar and spite. Her stained fingertips hover near your mint tea. You slide the cup closer, just in case. Experts think elder trees warded off Roman thieves, though today's only intruder is Brid's toddler, absconding with your honey cake. The blackbird trills again, its melody scaffolding the heat. Your knuckles still ache from last night's weaving. Brid snorts, wine dark, more like drowned rat. Whoever called this crimson deserves a thrashing. You recall Romans paid fortunes for Tyrian purple mollusk guts and all. Try adding walnut husks, you suggest. The look she shoots, you could curdle milk. Shade stretches thin as cheap linen. A bead of sweat carves a path down your spine. Historians still argue whether elder's sacred reputation came from its bark salves, or the pleasant buzz from fermenting its berries. The blackbird cocks its head, eyeing Brid's failed dye like an art critic. Your tea's gone lukewarm. Brid's rambling about indigo traders from Massilia now, each word a hammer to your skull. Most Gauls prefer woad for blue, though you've heard pigs tattoo themselves with it. The bird flits lower, a wing beat away. Its eye gleams like a druid's amber pendant. Catch it, and I'll dip your apron in this sludge, Brid warns. You suppress a grin. The creature's song spirals, notes shaped like river reeds, like grandmother's spindle. Some say blackbirds ferry dead souls, last words. You have expected to demand a sestertius for delivery. Brid slumps onto a stump, should have married that potter. At least his failures hold wine. The confession hangs between you, vulnerable as a clay slip. You nudge the honeycake toward her. Moore's husband can't tell madder root from dock leaves. Trade, she laughs, a sound so rare it startles the blackbird into flight. Sunlight fractures through its wings, ink-black feathers edged gold. For a heartbeat, the village square becomes a mosaic. Then reality reasserts itself. Brid's vat burbles. A child wails, your tea sours in the heat. The elder tree shivers, casting a lacework of shadows over your feet. Some folks plant elders by doorways, keeps house spirits docile. You wonder if it works on dyers. Brid swipes honeycake crumbs with a sigh. Tell your brother I've got real blue, 3 geese, and a copper torque. Distance blurs the blackbird's song into memory. Your sandal sticks to spilled dye, red as a poorly set sunset. Brid eyes your feet. Don't ask. I'm not washing that out. You'll soak it in the river later. Let the Einan claim another offering. A breeze snakes through, bringing the baker's burnt loaf perfume. The blackbird's nowhere now, only its absence remains. Brid's voice softens unfamiliar terrain. Nuada's silver arm, could he make it softer? You blink. Grandmother said he once forged a plowshare into a lyre string. Brid snorts. Useful. But her fingers trace the air, plucking invisible notes. In the silence, something shifts. Not peace, exactly, more like 2 baskets briefly interlocking. Then her brat catapults into her lap, dice-speckled fists, waving a dead mayfly. Normalcy resumes, jagged edges and all. You stand bones creaking like a wicker chair. The river calls, coolness whispered through parched fields. Brid doesn't say farewell, just flicks a beetle husk at your retreating back. A Gaulish goodbye. The honeycake's sweetness lingers, clashing with the tea's bitter aftertaste. Maybe all truces taste contradictory. As you walk, the blackbird's final trill unfurls in your mind, a melody stitched with questions. Tomorrow's trade, tonight's chores, and always, always the reeds waiting to be split. Dust plumes herald the trader's approach, a mule-drawn cart creaking under amphory. You straighten, fingers still slick from river clay, as the Roman halts his sway-backed beast. His helmet's bronze trim catches the sun. An arrogance, even in this heat. Historians still argue whether legionaries moonlighted as merchants. But this one's sword calluses match his coin purse's weight. Argentum pro textile. He barks, Latin consonants sharp as a gladius edge. Your brother materializes like storm clouds, axe dangling carelessly. He wants silver for cloth, you translate. No, he wants silver for our cloth. The Roman frowns, understanding Gaulish curses, if not grammar. He unfurls a striped pallium, threads unraveling at the hem. Parthian wool. The lie reeks of Iberian lanolin. You resist, grinning. Carthaginian traders once sold gray parrots as Phoenician philosophers, but this fool's no Hannibal. Your brother spits. The glob quivers near Roman sandals. Negotiations dance like midges, sharp, erratic, inevitable. The trader pokes your twin-reeded harvest design. Crudus, raw, unworked. You counter with 3 fingers, Gaulish reckoning looping skyward. His nostrils flare. Britannia gives better. A gambit, Britain's trade tin, not basketry. Your brother slams a basket onto the cart. The mule startles. Better than British mud huts, eh? The Roman inspects the weave, hesitates. You spot his thumb testing for flexibility. Legion tactics manuals mention checking shield would the same way. Quirky tidbit. True scholars still debate whether Caesar's engineers stole Gallic thatching patterns for winter camp roofs. 3 bronze sestertii clink onto the grinding stone. 2 for 10, the trader growls. Your brother's laugh could crack ice. Your mother haggle for your first swaddling cloths too. The insults rhythm trips in translation. The Roman tilts his head, puzzled. A child's reed flute trills nearby, the tune fraying tension's edge. You intercede. 3 coins, and will bless your mule against river spirits. Superstition crosses language barriers. His hand twitches toward a phallic amulet, standard issue for legionaries fearing Gaulish curses. Deal struck. The Roman departs, cart groaning louder under baskets. Your brother pockets the coins, warmth lingering from foreign palms. Think he's Variathus' cousin. You snort. Rebels don't peddle moth-eaten cloaks. The crossroads settle dust, becoming just dust again. You pluck a trampled reed. Its split end resembles the trader's squashed nose. Tomorrow's market buzzes in your bones. But for now, sunset gilds the empty road. Somewhere, a mule brays at suspicious elder trees. Gaulish twilight smells of turned earth and distant rain, of bargains sealed of brothers, still grinning like boys who outsmarted the wolf. You need the reed between fingers, ready to weave again when dawn insists. Always dawn insists. The first thunderclap rips the horizon, a Bronze Age drumbeat shaking your ribcage. Your youngest drops his half-woven basket, fronds scattering like startled quail. Epona's racing early this season. Your brother mutters, squinting at bruised clouds. Historians blather about Gaulish hillfort ramparts, but you know true shelters in the slant of a thatch roof, in the way rain rolls off duck-fat-treated reeds. Children scramble, sandaled feet kicking up chalk dust from the path. A girl slips her laugh, sharper than the storm. You snatch abandoned weaving tools, the bone all's edge still warm from small hands. Some claim lightning reveals hidden gold veins. Your people say it's tyrannies hammering out destiny's dents. The wind plucks at your skirt, a suitor gone rude. Hearth smoke tangles with ozone, your nostrils flare at the metallic kiss of coming rain. Check the goat pen, you bark at your daughter. She runs, braid whipping like a serpent's tail. Your brother's already lashing the woodpile with willow cords, muscles recalling the siege of Alesia's supply lines. Thunder growls again, closer now. The village elder's cough competes with the din, a phlegmy counterpoint to divine fury. You duck into the hut, air thick with yesterday's rosemary and mildew. Quick fingers adjust the smoke hole's hide flap, technique older than Rome's aqueducts, yet twice as reliable. Rain pellets the thatch, each drop hissing through straw. Your youngest crawls under the loom, eyes wide as Celtic shield bosses. Will the sky crack open? He whispers. You toss him a rye biscuit, distraction tactics Hannibal would envy. Only if Tyrannes forgets his morning mead. Lightning stutters, freezing your sister mid-step as she drags in a dripping lamb. Shadows twist on wattle walls, becoming wolves, becoming eagles, becoming things no druid names allowed. The Romans wrote of our thatched villas, never guessing we line roofs with wolf hair to confuse storm spirits. Quirky tidbit, your grandmother swore by it. You swear the lice keep winter boredom at bay. Hail now, ice pearls ricocheting off grindstones. Your brother shakes out a sodden cloak, spattering the fire. The hearth retaliates with a hiss. Wetter than a nymph's wedding night, he grumbles, reaching for the ale jug. You block him with a bread paddle, noticing his trembling hands. His first storm since the raids. The blacksmith's wife splashes through your doorway, a sodden hen under each arm. Fool birds would have drowned singing to the lightning. She snaps, feathers leaving trails on the dirt floor. You nod, remembering how Caesar's scribes mocked our animal bonds, never grasped the pride in keeping every beak fed through a tempest. Wind shrieks through roof joints, a banshee testing your knots. The elder tree outside cracks like a giant's knuckle. Your daughter appears, soaked tunic clinging to child-soft curves. She holds out 3 duck eggs, prizes wrested from panicked nests. They'll cook in the embers, you declare, ignoring her chattering teeth. The storm's heart hits, rain so thick it blurs the world beyond the doorway. Even the dyer's mad mastiff falls silent. You count breathes between thunder. 7, 6, 4. Tyrannies grows impatient. Historians still argue whether hill forts were strongholds or sacred stages. Right now, you trade all their scrolls for one dry cloak. Your sister whispers a charm, thumb circling her iron torque. 19 words to calm skies, grandmother taught, but the recipe died with her. The lamb bleats, a high, desperate sound. You stroke its drenched fleece, wondering if Roman merchants endure such squalls, if their stone villas echo like drumskins. A crash shakes the hillside, splintering wood echoes through the gale. The birch splitters shed. Your brother sighs, ale finally claimed. He lists structural flaws, as if critiquing a rival's swordplay. You smirk, picturing the shed's remains as next winter's kindling. Darkness falls premature. The fire becomes sunrise in miniature. Children cluster around its glow, wet hair steaming. Someone starts a story of Cernunnos wrestling storm giants, details dissolving like salt in broth. The blacksmith's wife hums, a forge song turned lullaby. When the hail stops, the quiet hurts your ears. Rain retreats to a drizzle, the world reduced to mud and mist. Your brother peers outside. I'll check the sheep. You grip his elbow, a heartbeat too long. Take the dog. He hesitates, then barks a laugh. That coward. He's under your bed. Damp wool and crushed mint fill the hut, a perfume no trader could name. You parcel out hazelnuts, watch the children's cheeks bulge like greedy chipmunks. The fire pops, startling the lamb into your sister's lap. Laughter erupts, fragile, bright, louder than the storm's ghost. Outside, the village exhales. Drip, 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 the rhythm of aftermath. Tomorrow brings mud, broken branches. Maybe a Roman axe head washed clean in the fields. For now, The baskets hold, the children breathe. The hearth refuses to die. You press a palm to the earthen floor, cool, firm, alive beneath the chaos. Somewhere, a lone blackbird dares to sing. The hearth's amber glow reveals the crack first, a jagged grin splitting last winter's storage bowl. Your thumb traces its path, remembering how frost crept into clay pores, expanded, retreated, left betrayal in its wake. Flax fibers twist between your fingers, sturdy as a legionary's sandal, strap supple as a lover's braid. You dip them in pine resin, humming a tune the potter's boy whistled at midsummer. Your daughter kneels nearby, kneading stolen clay scraps into lumpy ducks. Why fix what still holds water? She asks, poking a webbed foot into existence. You press a flax thread into the breach, each stitch pulling the fracture closed. Same reason we mend sandals, or babies, or pride. Her snort warms your shins more than the fire. Twilight seeps through smoke-blackened thatch. The storm's rage softened to a drip, drip, drip from the eaves. Historians love debating whether ancient repairs were practical or sacred. You just know this bowl outlived 3 Roman emperors. Your brother snores by the woodpile, a half-carved arrowhead slipping from his grip. The resin's scent sharpens memory, flashing to Delen's funeral pyre, applewood smoke, clinging to nettle shrouds. The last stitch glistens, a raised scar across terracotta skin. You slap clay over the seam, embed a single strand of your youngest's hair in the paste. Grandmother's trick against future cracks. Quirky tidbit, she claimed kin strands bound objects to their stewards. The child watches, offers his head for plucking. Save some magic for your wedding day. You tease, flicking a woodlouse from his cowlick. Embers pop like distant javelins hitting damp earth. Or maybe that's just the cider fermenting behind the loom. Your sister-in-law drags in a mud-caked fleece, muttering about waterlogged divats. You cradle the mendied bowl, its weight familiar as your own jawline. Some say Gauls prized iron over pottery, but show me a sword that cradles stew through February's bite. Firelight catches the repair, turns flax stitches to molten gold. The blacksmith's wife swore she saw similar mends in Etruscan tombs, claims they placed patched bowls in graves as maps for the lost. You snort, remembering how she sells the same tale about cracked chamber pots. Still, your thumb rubs the ridge absent-mindedly, tracing a path only spirits might follow. Children's laughter splinters the gloom. Your daughter's clay duck now rides a makeshift sled of birch bark. The bowl rests by the hearth, its shadow stretching long as twilight deepens. You snap a rye crust, let crumbs fall where they may. Outside, a wolf answers the smiths, hammer their rhythms, stitching night's frayed edges. The last ember sighs into ash. Your breath sinks with its dying light. Somewhere beyond the hills roams engineers lay perfect bricks in perfect rows. Here, in the quiet between storms, you pat your bowl's stubborn belly, smile at its crooked smile. Perfection's overrated anyway, ask any mother, or moon, or mended thing that survives. Sleep tugs at your eyelids, but the bowl waits, patient as always. You drizzle last summer's honey over its rim, letting golden threads seep into the fracture. Breakfast's problem, tomorrow's pride, tonight's quiet victory. The fire barely murmurs now, yet its warmth still licks your shins, still murmurs, still stays. Moonlight slithers through the loom's warp, threads your mother's pitcher glows like a captive dawn. Those ochre spirals haven't faded, not when Roman tacksmen rattled its shelf, not when your toddler mistook it for a chamber pot. Your fingertip follows the grooves, her thumbprint still pressed deep near the base. 3rd century BCE Gauls loved red ochre for sacred vessels, but mother laughed, called it mud dressed for festival. A cricket chirps inside the pitcher's belly, its song warped by curved walls. You strain to catch the melody, or maybe you're straining to hear her again, humming as she painted these whorls. The village gossip swore woad dye, made better adhesive than resin, tried it once. Spent weeks scrubbing blue stains from your kneecaps. Your son peers over the loom, nose wrinkling at the cricket's off-key serenade. Hush, it's practicing for Lugnasad. You whisper, tweaking his ear. Threads snag on the pitcher's rim, a snarl threatening today's weaving. Your sister's voice drifts from memory. Always loop left before right, unless the moon's waxing. Historians still argue whether our spiral patterns mapped star paths, or just looked nice after 3 horns of mead. You unknot the mess, licking flax fibers to tame their split ends. Mother would have scolded the waste of good spit. Outside, the storm she predicted thrashes the barley fields, a delayed tantrum after yesterday's muggy silence. Rain hisses against the thatch, plinks into the pitcher, dilutes the cricket's ambition. Your daughter arranges pebbles around its base, a makeshift shrine to forgotten household gods. Tyranny's needs tribute, she declares, stealing your last hazelnut as offering. You let her. Some traditions thrive on theft. The pitcher's shadow stretches, a twisted giant, on the hut wall. Archaeologists found similar vessels in Breton graves, filled with charred chickpeas instead of ashes. You wonder if mother packed snacks for the afterlife, or just hated waste. Lightning flashes for a heartbeat. The spirals seem to writhe like adders. Your brother's wolfhound whines, plants its snout in your lap. Damp wool blankets the room, the storm's breath seeping through every crack. You press your cheek to the pitcher's cool belly, same as you did during childhood fevers. Scholars drool over its ritual significance. You know it once stored pickled turnips. The cricket flees, its wings brushing your wrist like a ghost's farewell. Rain slackens to a murmur. The village drunk's off-key ode to Brigantia floats through the fog. Your son drops dried lavender into the pitcher to drown the pea smell. Smart as, just like his grandfather. The hearth fire gutters, its reflection rippling across the ochre curves. Some say mirrors steal souls. you've seen deeper truths in clay. Threads snap as you resume weaving, the pattern kinking like a broken spine. Mother's voice bubbles up, a flaw's just a story waiting to bloom. You twirl the ruined section into a rose, securing it with stolen embroidery silk. Perfection's overrated. Ask any Roman road that buckled under frost, or any child's first basket. Midnight oil pools in its clay lamp, you're out of wolf fat again. The pitcher gathers shadows now, spirals dissolving into the gloom. Your husband snores rhythmically, each exhale fluttering the lamp's weak flame. Tomorrow, you'll scrub decades of ale stains from the earthenware. Tonight, you let it rest, a silent keeper of crickets' lavender, and the exact pitch of her laughter during summer deluges. Dawn lingers beyond the horizon, all stingy with its light. The pitcher remains, patiently holding darkness, waiting to be useful again. Birch bark torches gutter in Kai's window, their frantic dance painting shadows of sleeplessness. You count 4 nights since his wife's screams echoed down the valley, and 4 mornings of that mewling cry rustling through your thatch. Roman olive oil lamps burned cleaner, but true Gaul's no birch smoke keeps moths from woolens, a trade-off between convenience and tradition. The newborn's wail sharpens, an owl chick's hunger pitched human. Your fingers fold barley cakes into cloth honey, seeping through weave gaps. 13th century historians would later insist our people swaddled infants in wolf pelts. But you've only ever used linen stolen from sunken trade barges. Kai's threshold stone bites your knees, the offering left where torchlight can't betray your presence. Damp wool and fresh milk cling to his doorway scent of exhausted parenthood. You glimpse movement through the hide curtain, Kai's silhouette rocking like a storm-tossed sapling. His wife's voice rasps a lullaby in the old tongue, words slurred with mead and blood loss. Midwives argue whether juniper tea or poppy milk better dulls the birth memory. Both require more coin than either household owns. A cow bellows in the distance, its complaint mirroring the baby's rhythm. You remember leaving similar cakes after your sister's stillbirth, how the dogs ate them before dawn. This time, you scratch 3 protective spirals into the dirt beneath the bundle. Because maybe symbols matter. Maybe they're just something to do while the world cracks open. Wind snatches Kai's curtain aside. You catch the newborn's face, wrinkled as last winter's apples. Celtic birthing stones found near Marseille show quartz veins shaped like womb curves. But this child's cries hold more music than any rock. Your hand drifts to your own hollow belly. 17 moons barren since the Red River last flowed. Pine resin pops in Kai's hearth, the sharp scent overriding sheep, dung's earthy musk. His wife's muttering grows urgent, Danu's tears. Not again, before the curtain slaps shut. Historians still argue whether barley cakes were ritual offerings, or just neighborly kindness when sleep became myth. You press a thumbprint into the top cake, a crooked spiral, only a mother might notice. Boots squelch behind you, your husband hauling water from the spring. He nods toward Kai's hut, the silent language of men who have memorized grief's angles. You finger the empty sling at your hip, its wool frayed from carrying everything but what mattered. The offering blurs as you turn honey and shame sticky on your palms. Frogs chorus in the rain, barrel their song, outlasting the baby's fading cries. You imagine Kai's wife tracing the barley spiral, cracked lips quirking at its asymmetry. Dawn pries at the horizon's edge, its light timid as a first-time thief. Some say newborns choose their parents. You hope this one forgets whatever it saw peering through the veil. A raven lands on the offering, cocks its head at your retreating shadow. Let it steal a crumb, you've left enough for both living and dead. The path home smells of mint, crushed underfoot, and distant smoke, and the salt sweetness of someone else's miracle. Cool silt squelches between your toes. The riverbank's farewell kiss as twilight bleeds into proper dark. Stars unravel overhead. The great bear's claws rake across bruised purple skies. Your youngest insists they're Dagda's, fingerprints smudging the heavens. Roman road builders used that constellation to chart straight paths north. But tonight, it's just a drowsy child's chalkboard. That one's our pregnant goat. He mumbles, stubby finger aimed at Orion's belt. His head lolls against your shoulder, the scent of sour milk and river mud clinging to his tunic. Archaeologists found Gaulish star maps carved into oak planks, though none ever depicted livestock in the zodiac. You hum agreement. Let him rename the cosmos, while sleep pulls at his eyelids. A wolf howl rips the valley's silence, its echo bouncing off the sacred oak's gnarled crown. Your boy stiffens, then relaxes as you trace Cassiopeia's curve on his palm. Just Nantisulta's hounds, you murmur, though the hearth goddess likely has better pets. Folklore claims star patterns shift when chieftains die. You count the constellations to check for recent coups. He snorts at Cygnus, calls at grandfather's sneeze, before dissolving into giggles that shake your ribcage. Night insects saw their legs in harmony, an off-tune accompaniment to his slurred asterisms. Your eldest used to name stars after village bullies, until the druid warned her words might stick. Historians still argue whether Celts navigated by stars, or just blamed them for bad harvests. Pine knots pop in the central fire pit, their light too weak to challenge the Milky Way sprawl. The boy's breathing deepens, his star naming devolving into half-words as dreams drag him under. You shift him to your lap, his weight familiar as the willow cradle he outgrew 2 springs past. Some idiots in Massalia claim stars are Apollo's campfires, but any fool knows fire doesn't flicker through the otherworld's veil. His hand fists your sleeve, mumbles something about the donkey constellation before going slack. The village drunk starts singing off-key to Freya's goats, their answering bleats tinged with existential despair. You count 7 visible planets. Make a silent wager on which one will blink first. 9th century monks will insist comets foretold Charlemagne's rise. Tonight, they're just pretty streaks messing up your bet. An owl swoops, its shadow briefly gnawing the moon. The child stirs, mutters bird stole Cassiopeia's necklace before nuzzling into your collarbone. His trust sits heavy, a wool cloak you can't shrug off. Not even when your bladder begs for relief. Your big toe digs into cool earth, grounding yourself as the sky's vastness presses down. Scholars dig up Celtic star, altars coated in bear fat. But no one asks how parents lifted toddlers to smear offerings. His snores sync with the brook's murmur, a lullaby older than Hilford's. You mouth the names he invented: Goat Star, Mudsplash Cluster, Grandpa's itchy beard. Dawn feels imaginary, a rumor told by overly optimistic roosters. The druid's wife claims each star is a hole punched by gods to spy on mortals. Tonight, you let them watch. Wind combs through the sacred oak, its leaves hissing secrets meant for the bare constellation's ears. Your neck stiffens, your boy's drool pooling, warm where your tunic laces hang open. Somewhere, Kai's newborn wails, a distant counterpoint to your child's breathy whistles. You picture both sounds tangled in the branches above, offerings for whatever deities collect midnight murmurs. A shooting star gashes the sky. The child jerks awake, eyes wide as cauldrons. Danu's necklace broke, he whispers, off flattening his voice to something older. You kiss his temple, taste salt and the iron tang of well water. She'll have to gather the beads before breakfast. You lie smooth as a priest explaining droughts. His chuckle vibrates against your sternum, a victory against night's creeping grandeur. The fire pit's last ember winks out, leaving only starlight to outline his yawn. You carry him toward bed, stepping over discarded reed dolls and yesterday's abandoned game of knucklebones. His arms tighten around your neck, anchoring you to earth as the heavens wheel onward, relentless, indifferent, breathtaking. Moonlight paints the storage hut silver. Your breath hangs visible as you lift the willow latch. Plump barley shifts in stacked baskets, their husked sighs whispering of tomorrow's bread. Gaulish granaries often stood raised on stilts. Historians debate whether this thwarted rats or pleased earth spirits. You press a palm against woven reeds, cool, sturdy, humming with last summer's heat. 3 baskets bear your sister's lopsided spirals, her wedding day nerves forever captured in uneven stitching. You sprinkle dried elderflowers between the grains. Old wives swear it wards off mold, though mold probably just hates the smell. Sir Nunnos's antlered shadow seems to stretch across the dirt floor, or maybe that's your sleep-deprived eyes merging moonlight and wishful thinking. A mouse scrabbles near the threshold. You fling a hazelnut hard enough to make it reconsider its career choices. Archaeologists will someday find rodent bones in Celtic storage pits, never guessing they died from airborne snacks. The village dogs start a half-hearted barking chain, collapsing into silence like drunkards, forgetting why they argued. You kneel, forehead touching the largest basket, for the horned one who guards curled roots and swaying stalks. You murmur, invoking Cernanos with words your grandmother stole from a druid's drunken ramble. Cold seeps through your knees. Last year's harvest floor was warmer. Or maybe you were younger. Wind riffles the thatch. 1,000 insect legs scratching above your head. The Roman traders' scrolls claim their grain gods demand blood sacrifices. But your people know barley prefers compliments and the occasional folk tune. You hum a harvest hymn through chattering teeth, the melody curving around missing notes your mother took to her pyre. Something crunches underfoot, a carved oak token from your son's secret guarding game. His tiny knife marks approximate something between a wolf and a turnip. You tuck it into the nearest basket. Let the grains decide if it's art or kindling. Scholars will later find similar totems in storage jars. Write entire theses on cultic child participation. Moonbeams catch the jug of offering beer, its surface rippling like liquid mercury. You pour a libation along the hut's eastern wall, where dawn first touches the village. The earth gulps it down, no belch of displeasure, a good sign. Rats probably invented religion to explain why humans waste good alcohol. Your big toe finds a warm patch where moonlight pooled earlier, now just memory lingering in packed dirt. Gauls reportedly buried grain during invasions, though you've yet to meet anyone dumb enough to attack a harvest-ready village. The air smells of damp wool and satisfied mildew, the signature scent of autumn's victory lap. A basket's rim bites your palm, reeds protesting their 8th straight month of service. You promise them retirement as chicken coop decor. Wonder if wicker holds grudges. The tribe's oldest weaver once claimed baskets absorb their contents, memories, which explains why your flour sack cringes at water. Frost creeps across the threshold, its crystalline fingers testing your resolve. You slip outside. Let the moon brand your cheeks with its cold fire. Storage baskets loom behind you, plump and self-satisfied in their twine belts. Tomorrow's market traders will haggle over their curves, never sensing the prayers sewn between each stitch. Clouds devour the moon. Sudden darkness feels like a wool blanket thrown over your head. Some idiot in Alesia probably calls this an omen. But it's just how night works when you're freezing your nipples off. You fumble toward home, toes memorizing every root and pebble on the path. The hearth's dead, embers greet you with judgmental silence. Your son snores like a bear cub of 1 foot, kicking at imagined star thieves. You collapse onto sheepskins, still warm from his sprawl, the harvest blessed, the gods appeased, your knees officially divorced from standing. A distant thud pulls you from dreams, not the owl's cry or wind in the thatch, but steady, deliberate. Doe meeting wood in the hour even wolves sleep. You press a cheek against cold hut walls, stone transmuting to lens, kneading into vibrations against your teeth. Gaulish bakers often worked nocturnally. Communal ovens demanded staggered use. Though you suspect Delenn just likes lecturing raccoons. Moonlight outlines her silhouette through cracks in the courtyard fence, elbows piston-driving dough thicker than a chieftain's neck. Your breath plumes as you shuffle closer, woolen socks, muting footsteps on frosted grass. Delenn's mutterings carry. 26 turns, no. 27's the number that pleases Bridget's cows. Historians still argue whether Celtic bread counts tracked practical measurements or divine numerology. She slams the loaf. A cloud of flour ghosts through moonbeams. Spying's unlucky before dawn. She croaks without turning. You toss a hazelnut. It bounces off her apron, triggering a grin missing 3 teeth. Your son's arm improves. Last week, he nearly brained my chicken. The trough exhales sourdough's tang, yeast breathing its last before the oven's embrace. You swipe a dough scrap, roll it into a wolf head, or maybe a squashed turnip. Delenn snorts. Leave that in, bakers hid clay tokens for luck. Burnt mine in 63 looked like Vercingetorix's hemorrhoids. Pre-dawn chill nips your ears, the village, a mosaic of frost and shadow. Delenn's kneading sinks with your shivers. Thump, pause, thump, syncopated heartbeat, rousing sleeping hearths. Some claim Celtic women timed baking by star rotations. Though you've only seen Delenn clock constellations with thrown bread crusts, she jerks her chin westward. Druid's Ridge glows again, dead playing dice with elf lights. A greenish flicker pulses beyond the birch grove, will-o'-wisps, or tired eyes. You hum neutral approval, not worth debating at knife's edge hours. Archaeology journals will later find high iron deposits there. Insisted, explains superstitious reports. Flour-dusted hands shove a lump into your arms, dough warmer than any reasonable person at this hour. Hold steady, sausage thief. Delenn's knife flashes, carving lattice patterns she once claimed mirrored Ogmios's tongue muscles. The loaf emerges scarred, but breathing a warrior prepared for oven wars. Embers glow in the communal pit, its stone lips yawning for breakfast sacrifices. You watch shadows stretch. Delenn's profile becomes a hooked-nosed goddess, judging the risen sun. Pre-Roman ovens reached temps modern bakers replicate with infrared. Not that Delenn would trust anything requiring Greek vocabulary. First birds test the air with chirps, tentative, doubting the light's commitment. Delenn bats away smoke, dawns a lazy minstrel here. Southward villages get proper fanfares. You pocket a burnt crust, charcoal's good for winter bellyaches, or sketching rude leggings on Roman statues. Her calloused palm smears flour across your brow, a crooked blessing. Tell your sister her bridal loaf's done, and warn her new husband, my bread knots detect lies. The dough serpentines into the pit, a flowery Cerberus guarding the underworld's brunch. Smoke Plumes signal the village awake. Shutters creak. Children's whines pierce thin walls. Delaine wipes her trough, each stroke echoing your mother's broom across summer dust. You inhale steaming crust, taste generations of burnt fingertips and tailored superstitions. She flicks water at your retreating back. Next time, bring decent walnuts. The path home glints with thawing frost, each step a crackle of daylight asserting dominance. Delaine's rhythm fades, replaced by your brother's axe splitting yesterday's regrets into kindling. Your son meets you at the threshold, hair plastered with sheep grease, clutching a doe wolf already missing an ear. We guard the oven, he declares, warriors brandishing twig swords. You nod solemnly, placing Delaine's charcoal crust on the offering stone, just in case. Sunlight slaps the village square, its golden palm, erasing night's quirks and half-seen glows. Loaves emerge blackened, but breathing villagers barter complaints about crust density. Delaine argues with a rooster, kneading troughs empty, till moonrise invites their hands again, eternal tangle of flour and finger bones. Dew clings to reed bundles like glass spiders, their edges hardening under breaths you didn't know frost could steal. You crouch, fingertip breaking the crust, a tiny avalanche of ice shards. The village exhales, plumes of morning routines tangling, wood smoke, sheep breath. Your sister sneezing turnip soup across her loom. Your youngest kicks a frost-stiffened sandal. It bit me. He glares at the offending leather, as if scolding a thistle. You snort, blowing mist into the shape of Sir Nunnos's antlers, or maybe a particularly ambitious fork. Carry it to the fire Roman baths, waste good kindling. He pouts, but hobbles inside, footsteps crunching resentment into every step. Reeds left overnight gasp under ice's embrace, their once pliant bodies now brittle as old grudges. You peel them apart, whispering apologies to river spirits. Historians will later find mildew-stained reed caches in Gaulish ruins, debate whether they stored kindling or sacred weaving materials. Your husband emerges, hair matted with sleep and what might be apple jam. He prods the crystallized reeds, think they'll bend after thawing. You snap one, the crack echoes like a squirrel's curse. He nods, starts humming that damnable Roman marching song, off-key and deliberate. Sunlight claws over the henge stones, its feeble warmth barely denting the frost. You drag reed bundles indoors. They scrape the threshold, leaving trails like serpents shedding glass skin. The hearth fire hisses, offended by winter's early audition. Grandmother squints at the meltwater pooling under the reeds. Should have pissed on them. Keeps mildew off. Your daughter chokes on her porridge, half in horror, half admiration. Old texts mention Celtic weavers using urine treatments, though most scholars skip that in lectures. You poke a thawing reed, it curls lazy, unrepentant. Let's see you complain when your sandal straps rot. You mutter, earning a snort from the corner loom. The cat bats at dripping threads, fur sparking with With static, tiny lightning storms between paw pads. Outside, Riok the potter slips, slams a jug of something pungent against his doorway. The stink hits you first, fermented fish sauce, or possibly his laundry. Trade you glaze for willow bines, he yells, already smearing gunk on his kiln. You toss him a reed bundle. It arcs through sunlight, scattering prismatic droplets. He catches it one-handed, the show-off. Next time, warn me before inventing new perfumes, you shout, as the village dogs begin howling. Lunch brings boiled barley and regret, the reeds still sulking in their puddle. Your son drips wax on them to make 'em waterproof. You're too tired to explain why baskets shouldn't double as candles. The dyer's wife arrives, her hands stained indigo and smelling of rebellion. Heard the Romans have heated floors, she whispers, like it's a secret, not just stolen gossip from legionary deserters. You nod, recalling traders bragging about hypocausts, those underground ovens puffing heat through rich men's villas. She eyes your soggy reeds, could weave them into heating pipes. You both snicker, imagining Senator Pompous tripping over a Gaulish floor grill, his toga singed by peasant engineering. By dusk, the reeds bend, their icy defiance melted into submission. You plait them, fingers remembering autumn's rhythm, loops tighter than a conspiracy. The C, a T, Chinese letter S, shedding fur into every third twist. Future archaeologists will debate if this was intentional insulation. Stars blink awake. Your husband starts another verse of marching up Tiberius's hill. You throw a reed. He dodges. It hits the soup pot, which clangs like an off-tune legionary trumpet. Frost creeps back, a silver legion reclaiming the night. You stash the half-woven basket, its curves hinting at tomorrow's argument with gravity. The hearth mutters, dreaming of sun-warmed reeds and less melodramatic households. Your daughter arranges ice chips on the windowsill for the frost spirits, so they don't steal our toes. You don't argue, just add a crust of barley bread, because even ice ghosts deserve snacks. A hacking rattle tears through the pre-dawn hush, your uncle's cough ripping holes in the stillness. You bury deeper into scratchy woolens until another jagged gasp sends you stumbling toward the hearth. Embers glare judgmental as you fumble for time bundles hung near the chimney. Roman garrison records mention Gauls trading silver for Mediterranean herbs. But ours grew wild by the midden pile. The coughs come again wet, and splintered a dying bear trapped in his chest. Your youngest whimpers, pulling blankets over his head. Tell the ghost to leave, he mumbles, breath fogging the wool. You toss dried nettle into boiling water. Ghosts dislike time steam, and children who haven't milked the goat yet. Dawn leaks through smoke holes, illuminating the medicine pot's reluctant bubbles. Historians still argue whether Celtic remedies worked, or just made patients too polite to die. You strain the concoction, catching a spiderweb drifting from the rafters. Grandmother swore they healed wounds, if applied before the third crow's cry. Your uncle's hut smells of damp wool and defiance. He glares through rheumy eyes. Rather drink Tiberius's piss than your swamp tea. You hold the cup steady, remembering how he carried you home after the boar hunt. His laughter shaking autumn leaves loose. The first sip sparks a coughing fit. The second stays down. He mutters about Roman aqueducts, how they'd pipe proper wine to a dying man. You fluff his moss-stuffed pillow. 3 beetles scamper out, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Maybe seeking warmer lodgings. Outside, your sister bargains with the frost, scattering millet for the sparrows in exchange for mercy. The cat watches, tail twitching, as if counting each grain. Steam from your pot tangles with chimney smoke, twirling figures that might be ancestors, or just bad airflow. Returning inside, you find the medicine cup empty and uncle snoring, his breath still crackling like green wood. The hearth fire nods, approving, as you crush more time between frost-numbed fingers. Breakfast waits, but so does the cough, relentless as tax collectors. Your husband enters, trailing the sharp scent of frozen earth. He eyes the herb stash, we're low on mistletoe. You snort, recalling last winter's fertility tea disaster. Druids harvested mistletoe with golden sickles. We use a rusty dagger and crossed fingers. The cough erupts again, uncle's face purpling like a ripe plum. Your daughter slips a carved oak leaf under his palate, whispering to the healing goddess Sirna. You add honey to his next dose, though the bees summered near Kai's questionable tannery. By midday, the cough retreats, burrowing into his chest like a chastised badger. You trade insults with the village midwife over a basket of yarrow, her voice rough from shouting at stubborn newborns. Should have used frog liver, she insists, tossing a moldy root into your satchel. The sun bleeds across the fields, turning frost into reluctant tears. Uncle demands ale settles for mint tea, calls you a bog witch with a nice scowl. You take it as praise, leave his doorway strewn with rowan twigs, just in case. Night falls with a final coughing spasm, then eerie quiet. The children peek into his hut, afraid to hope. You press an ear to his chest, the rattle's still there, but softer now, weaving itself into the loom's familiar creak. Stars emerge, indifferent to lung complaints and herbal debts. You sip cold dandelion broth, wondering if Romans ever choke on their own marble floors. The cat brings a dead mouse, laid ceremoniously atop your herb sacks, tiny feet stiff as dried thyme. Frost returns, painting the world in brittle silver. Somewhere an owl hoots 3 times, a good omen, or just an owl. You place a warmed stone at uncle's feet, his snore vibrating through the clay steady as a heartbeat. The village sleeps, breaths syncing with yours, while sickness and remedy wage their ancient war. Embers whisper plans for tomorrow's hunt, or maybe just gossip about your questionable tea. You don't care, as long as the coughing stays quiet, outnumbered by the living. loom's heartbeat falters. A sharp snap sends a reed strand recoiling like a viper's strike. Waxed thread hangs limp from your fingers, the half-finished basket gaping like a broken promise. Your youngest giggles from the corner, his own lopsided creation, sprouting extra handles. It's a chicken nest, he declares, pride undimmed by the twigs stabbing through its base. You pluck the snapped reed, its edge jagged where moisture crept in. Gaulish weavers often rubbed beeswax on strands, but winter shortages force us to use pine resin. The fracture whispers of damp mornings, of uncle's cough-soaked blankets steaming by the fire, of forgotten reed bundles left in last week's rain. A spider scuttles across your knee, its dragline glinting silver in the hearth light. Grandmother's voice ghosts through your hands. Mend breaks with the moon's face turned north. Else the weave remembers the wound. You glance at the smoke hole, pale daylight offers no lunar clues. Rebellion flares. You thread the needle anyway. The repair begins, erratic stab, pull stab, until rhythm reclaims your fingers. Split reeds curl into compliance, their edges sealed with resin stolen from Kai's fish glue pot. Historians still argue if Celtic patterns held hidden meanings, or just pleased the eye. You smother a smirk, recalling Aunt Fenella's sacred spiral that uncannily resembled a drunkard's stumble. Your daughter drags in a reed bundle, frost still clinging to the stems. The river once snapped easier, she warns, breath fogging the air. You nod, stomach tightening at the memory. 3 ruined baskets, their bases caved in like Roman helmets after a rebellion. The mended strand holds for now. Its bulge nestles among older scars, your mother's hasty fix after the pig incident. Your own childhood attempt involving buried dye and spite. The pattern emerges stronger at the join raised ridges mapping survival. Uncle's cough rattles through the hut softer today, a tired hound's bark. He eyes your weaving. That's the 5th snap this weak Tungri tribe made better baskets. You toss a reed scrap at him. It lands in his broth. Archaeologists found Tungri baskets near Cologne lined with sheep fat for waterproofing. Or maybe bad soup. Twilight bleeds through the doorway. Your needle dips in and out of fading light. The children's laughter fades, replaced by the soft hiss of resin cooling. Some say broken threads invite forest sprites. You've only ever seen mice. Still, you scatter a handful of barley near the threshold, just in case. Night falls. The mended basket cradles empty spindles. Your husband squints at it. Hilfort markets tomorrow. They'll haggle over that lump. You cradle the flaw, fingertips tracing its stubborn ascent. Tell them it's a mountain. Tell them it withstood a storm. The fire pops, sending shadows dancing across coiled walls. In the gossipy dark, the mend feels less like a failure, more like history. The mended basket sits heavy in your lap, its ridge pressing into your thigh like a buried bone. Your husband's snores merge with the night wind, a tune just off rhythm. Your thumb finds the uneven weave, and suddenly it's there, a melody your mouth hasn't shaped since childhood. The first note cracks dry as autumn leaves. Grandmother's lullaby rises anyway Gaulish vowels rough against your tongue. Epoes isarno, iron horse, iron hooves. The words feel dangerous, sacred, foolish. Your daughter stirs in her sleep, a frown creasing her brow at the ancient consonants. Moonlight pools around a forgotten spindle, its shadow stretching into something like a chariot. You hum lower now, the song's edges softened, smuggled into the dark. Archaeologists found Gaulish lullabies scrawled on Roman pottery shards. Love notes or curses? No one's sure. Your youngest mumbles, make the cheese song instead. Ah yes, the rhyme about the thieving mouse and the wheel of brined curds. His favorite. You oblige, racking your brain for the verse about dandelion sap waterproofing baskets. An old trick even Pliny, the elder, wrote about, though he credited the wrong tribe. Uncle's cough sputters like a dying forge bellows. That's not how Nessa sang it, he rasps, eyes still closed. You pause, waiting. He inhales sharply, then croaks a line so guttural it startles the dog. The tune unearths itself, crumbling earth, giving way to a buried stream. Your fingers keep weaving as you sing reeds bending to the rhythm. The song mentions willow leaves chewed for fever, a remedy your mother swore by, though experts think it only worked 'cause it tasted so foul. The apprentice across the river once claimed Gaulish lullabies could curdle milk, promptly proven wrong by your best goat's indifference. The fire dims, wind snakes through the smoke hole to lick the coals. You switch to humming, the melody fraying into something softer, modern yours. Historians still argue whether those vocal trills were spiritual signals or just regional accents. Your brother-in-law insists they're how druids imitated bird calls, but he also thinks rainwater fairies ghost spit. The song dissolves, leaving your throat raw. Your daughter rolls over, muttering about the river's cold toes, somewhere beyond the hearth's glow. The mended basket holds its breath. You count 12 finished pieces for tomorrow's market, each flaw now sung into permanence. A screech owl screams, its cry tangled with rioch's distant hammer strikes. The potter's still working his promised jug, haunted by your sister's absent laughter. Your thumb finds the basket's raised scar again, whispering the last line like a secret. Bena Bentio, the words taste of turned soil, of ironsmith fumes, of sugar steeped in verbena. Grandmother swore songs strengthened basket walls better than resin. A theory proven tonight, if only through stubbornness. You grin at the lopsided chicken nest in the corner, its twigs quivering in a draft. Sleep tugs your eyelids, the melody now half-dream. Some say forgotten songs are just prayers with the gods, names scratched out. You prefer to think they're baskets, holding all the words our hands can't weave. Embers crawl toward ash, their glow, catching the repaired strands, uneven path. Tomorrow, You'll tell buyers it's a mountain. Tonight, it's a lullaby's bony spine, keeping the dark at bay stitch by crooked stitch. Glowing orange ripples dance on the brook, your breath hitches at the sight. Rioc's kiln burns through midnight, its crooked chimney staining the stars. The promised betrothal jug simmers inside, clay still holding its breath. You squint through heat-warped air, catch the potter's silhouette bent like a question mark. His hammer strikes metal rhythmically, not shaping, counting, Morse code for blacksmiths. No, just Rioc's way to track firing stages. A Roman trader once claimed glassblowers memorized 26 temperature songs, all state secrets, punishable by crucifixion. You spit 3 times, warding off his ghost, or maybe the stink of imperial lies. River mud squelches underfoot as you approach. Rioc's hair glows redder than the kiln, tied up with a strip of fox fur. Almost midnight blessing time. He mutters, fingers tracing the jug's shadow through stone. Clay dust lingers in his beard. You glimpse the tally marks on his forearm, each notch a failed attempt. The kiln exhales metallic heat. It smells of crushed snails and desperate hopes. Potters once used urine for glaze, a fact you wisely omit from festival conversations. His newest blend includes powdered oak gall, traded from a one-eyed druid in exchange for 3 mendied amphorae. Your sister's jug needs 7 moon cycles in the flame, Rioc growls, palms pressed to furnace stones. Historians still argue whether Celtic spiral patterns mapped trade routes or just drunken potter's doodles. You watch him etch a keyhole shape, the same motif on her unfinished wedding cloak. His hammer clangs again, 3 sharp strikes. A crack splits the kiln's side, heartbeat fast. But no, just the log pile settling. Should have used horsehair in the temper, he grumbles, though you both know the fault lies elsewhere. Your sister's laughter died with last autumn's first frost, her betrothal contract now collecting ash. Moth wings brush your neck, you swat at nothing. Rioc's cat weaves between kiln legs, tail singed at the tip. Bastard beast tripped the salt glaze, he explains, tossing a pebble at its haunches. The creature hisses, dislodges a tile inscribed with Mercury's face, plundered from a dashed to pieces Roman milestone. Embers spit as Rioc unblocks the flue. Flame tongues lick the jug's belly, its curves glowing like stolen sunlight. Horse fat in the clay, he confesses, voice lowered. Same as the old Veneti votive bowls, keeps it breathing through multiple firings. You nod, pretending not to notice his glance toward your sister's empty hut. A screech owl's cry splits the dark. Rioc freezes mid-reach. Bad omen for ceramics. He mutters, tossing salt over his left shoulder. The kiln groans a sound like granaries collapsing in slow motion. You press chilled fingertips to the jug's outline. Its heat sears skin bone memory. He offers barley beer from a jug patched with river reeds. The first sip tastes of desperation, the second of guilt. You mention the 13 failed engagement vessels buried behind his shed, their shards poking through moss like broken teeth. Riok's laughter rasps. Better than your waterproof basket's last flood season. Midnight inches closer, the kiln's glow softens to burnt umber. Riok needs a clay lump, fingers remembering motions his mind has forgotten. His thumb indents the center, a gesture sacred to Susalis. Or maybe just an old man's tremor. You hum the lullaby from earlier. Watch his shoulders drop half an inch. 2 bats spiral above the chimney, their squeaks syncing with the hammer's beat. Riok swears there, his first wife's knitting needles returned from the underworld. You don't mention the beeswax clogging their wing joints, or how he wept at her pyre. The jug emerges at moon zenith, crimson fading to earthy brown. Riok's calloused hands spin it slowly, checking for hairline fractures. Almost, his voice cracks, not from smoke, not from age. You trace the keyhole spiral, its curve mirroring the scar on your sister's palm. Cold bites your ankles as the kill dims. Riok wraps the jug in undyed wool protection against jealous spirits. Tell her it'll hold wine or ashes. He gruffs, thrusting the bundle at your chest. Its weight surprises you, lighter than hope, heavier than grief. Frog song rises as you retreat across the brook. Riok's hammer resumes, counting down till dawn. The jug presses against your ribs, its unglazed surface still warm, still whispering secrets not meant for living mushrooms, erupt overnight around the western oak, white domes pushing through leaf rot like miniature burial mounds. You kneel, frost crunching under your knees, and count 13 caps. An auspicious number, or migraine-inducing, depending on which herbalist's tailies you trust. The oak's bark feels scaly against your palm, same texture as grandfather's hands during his final fever. Bluebells shiver in your gathering basket, their stems leaking sticky tears. Dawn mist threads between trees, turning the grove into a loom-weaving fog. You arrange millet in concentric circles, 3 rows for strength, 7 for mercy, 1 for whatever gods still haunt this hill. Gaul's once buried swords beneath sacred oaks. Historians still argue whether it was tribute or early recycling. A mushroom cap detaches with a wet pop. The sound echoes through the grove. You freeze, half expecting Sir Nunnos's antlers to pierce the haze. Instead, a squirrel chitters, dropping half a hazelnut onto your skirt. Tribute accepted, you mutter, tucking the nut into the offering basket. Your breath coils white. It dances with the mist, tangling in your unbound hair. The oak's roots curl like arthritic fingers around a Roman coin green, with Asia Caesar's profile worn to a sneer. You leave it untouched, bad luck, to steal another sacrifice. Rainwater pools in a hollow knot, 23 iron nails rusting at the bottom. Some say the Venetti hammered metal into trees to trap storm spirits. Others swear it's just bad carpentry. Your thumbnail splits a mushroom stem. Ivory flesh oozes, faintly blue. Auntie Brann used to ferment such caps into truth serum, though her interrogations mostly revealed who'd stolen the summer cider. Dawn brightens, revealing a spiderweb strung between two roots. Each dewdrop glints with a distorted sky, 100 tiny worlds trembling before sunrise. Millet grains slip through your fingers, their fall mimicked by a woodpecker's rhythmic tapping. You scatter bluebells over the roots, their heads bowed like penitents. Roman naturalists claimed Celtic tribes worshipped trees as lovers, a lie that makes you snort. Oaks are terrible bedmates, all splinters and acorn bombardment. The mist thickens, cold seeps through your woolens, clings like a child's grip. You rub thumbprints into the oak's trunk, leaving sweat and salt. Grandma's voice whispers behind your ribs, never trust a mushroom ring unless you fancy dancing with skeletons till dawn. A breeze stirs the offerings, millet patterns shifting into spiral signatures. Sunlight spears through the canopy, a golden needle stitching night to day. The mushrooms seem to shrink, retreating into the loam. You press your forehead to the oak's trunk, inhale its tannin scent, and rise. The basket feels lighter, or maybe your bones do a spirit's nod, or last night's mead finally metabolizing. Footprints fade as you retreat, mist erasing each step. The grove exhales, a chorus of creaking branches and rustling voles. Your hair drips, dawn's dew melting into the nape of your neck. Somewhere beyond the trees, a woman's laughter ripples through the valley, bright and fractured as a dropped clay cup. Your sandal's leather strap whispers its last raspberry-hued protest, then snaps mid-stride. The Einan River laughs as you pitch forward, knee-deep in water, cold enough to burn. Reeds lash your shins, their serrated edges writing secrets on your skin. A basket of elderberries bobs downstream, your curses chasing their purple trail. You fumble for balance. River stones roll beneath your soles like conspirators. Dawn paints the water pewter, and rose, hiding the current's clawed fingers. 5 heartbeats pass before you spot it, the copper pin from yesterday's hair, now glinting on the riverbed. Gauls often tossed metal gifts into sacred waters, though most didn't retrieve them mid-shiver. The river tugs your skirt with insistent hands. Easy now, you growl, reaching for the pin. Your fingers brush green-stained copper. The water's chill creeps up your wrist. Some druids claimed rivers preferred borrowed offerings. Hence your cousin's habit of accidentally dropping Roman mail shirts mid-ford. Your toes curl around a submerged branch, its bark long since stripped by hungry currents. The pin slips again, dancing just beyond reach. Air stings your lungs as you dive, braids floating like drowned snakes. Cold shocks your teeth into a grimace. You bite down on river and ancient runoff. Emerald light bathes the riverbed, illuminating shoals of thumb-sized fish. Their scales shimmer like the forge god Goibniu's fingernail clippings. Historians still argue whether Celtic water offerings honored deities or just cleaned up clumsy smith's worksites. A fish nibbles your big toe, its mouth softer than a baby's yawn. The pin winks once, then disappears under a veil of silt. You surge upward, gasping air that tastes of wet dog and willow. Your free hand emerges triumphant, copper tinged with verdigris kisses. The river's growl softens, perhaps appeased, perhaps bored. There's your tribute, greedy wench, you pant, wading toward shore. Squelching reeds cling to your ankles, nature's ankle bracelets. Your soaked tunic slaps against goose-fleshed thighs. You'll smell like pond scum till sunset. At least no Roman tax collectors float downstream today. Last month's encounter required 3 honey cakes to soothe Lug's pride. Sun climbs higher, drying your legs in patchy stripes. You examine the pin, its spiral motif warped by months underwater. Grandma swore twisted metal-confused evil spirits made them nauseous as overfed geese. The river murmurs behind you, already composing new verses about mortal clumsiness. 7 blackbirds explode from a shoreline thicket, their wings scritching the sky. You count them absently while wringing out your braids. An odd number, either excellent fortune or Horato's, will lose that tooth he's been wiggling. The elderberries are halfway to the sea. By now, some goddess's breakfast, garnished with your labor. A shiver ambushes your spine, river's vengeance, served cold. You jam the pin back into damp hair, its chill seeping into your scalp. Maybe tonight's fire will cough up a gratitude offering. Or maybe you'll just drink until the memory floats away. The Einan's laughter follows you home, each ripple sounding suspiciously like your childhood nickname. Your palms sting from river grit as you push open the hut's wicker door, wincing at the iron tang of burnt oats. Your husband crouches in shadow, fingers sifting through jagged metal chunks. The plow's shattered blade glints dully, its once proud edge now crumpled like discarded birch bark. He doesn't look up. Riok says it's beyond mending. You set the salvaged pin on the hearthstone, its verdigris bleeding onto limestone. Every Gaulish smith knew iron's moods, but Riok's apprentice had probably overfed the forge again. Last summer's mishap left 3 spearheads looking like melted cheese. Breeze carries the reek of charred barley from the smithy. You uncork an elderflower mead jug, its honeyed scent tussling with the stink of failure. The clay cup warms his palm before he notices, muscles bunching under salt-stained tunic. Historians still argue whether Gaulish smiths used urine to quench blades. But Riok's workshop definitely uses bad luck. Traded 2 hens' eggs for this brew. You lie, watching his throat work. Truth was 3 eggs and a promise to fix Kai's leaky roof. Mead trickles down his beard, the flush reaching his ears before his sigh does. His thumb traces a plow fragment's fracture. Oak handles snap, leather wears. But iron throws tantrums. You finish, plucking a shard from the pile. Its edge whispers threats to your calluses. Celtic metalworkers pioneered quenching techniques, yet no amount of skill stops pride from rusting. Sunlight arrows through smoke holes, spotlighting a curious glint in the debris. You poke a twisted nail with your toe. It clinks like a copper bell. Your husband stiffens, realizing what you found. Rioc's secret stash again. He nods, jaw moonlight pale under stubble. Every smith hoarded Roman scrap metal for recasting. But stolen legionary nails carried Epona's own curse. Last autumn's horse limp traced back to similar salvage. You chuck the nail into the fire, its betrayal hissing into sparks. Flames recoil momentarily, then devour the offering. Some druids claimed purified metal sang sweeter. You just hoped it wouldn't singe your eyebrows off. Your husband studies the mead cup's dregs, swirling them like molten bronze. 3 days till planting, and 6 till belting. You counter, tossing him a waxed linen bundle. Unfolding reveals Rioc's scratched tally marks, a debt of 7 finished scythes. The smith's charcoal scribbles blur where ale droplets struck parchment. His knuckles whiten, then soften. You recognize the shift, shoulders squaring like a man confronting a startled boar. Resolve smells of elderflower and sweat tonight. Outside, wind rattles the goat pen's loose post. A woodpecker drills Morse code warnings into your best yew tree. You pretend not to notice his fingers brushing the plow's iron. Corpse, memorizing its death rattle. Tomorrow he'll bully Rioch into working solstice hours. Or maybe finally try his hand at the bellows. The fire pops, a spark lands on your wrist. You watch it die without flinching, its brief anger mirrored in the shattered blade. Some claimed Gaulish iron contained star metal, but right now, it just contained problems. He stands abruptly, mead cup clattering onto wool blankets. First light. You nod, already sorting usable scraps into a willow basket. One piece bites your thumb, drawing blood that beads like misplaced garnets. The plow's ghost chuckles as you suck the wound, tasting salt and last year's harvest. Your husband kicks the fragments into a ragged pile. They skitter like mice, fleeing imaginary cats. You hum an old forging song, the rhythm syncopated by his boots, stomping toward Rioch's. Torchlight bleeds under the door long past midnight, his silhouette arguing with the smith's drunken shadow. The plow shards grow cold in their corner, patient, waiting, ready to become something that won't break. Carthaginian firelight glows beyond the standing stones, their camels. Groans foreign as thunder in winter. You cradle the milk pail, watching silhouettes move like shadow puppets against linen tents. Their leader's nasal laugh carries a sound like dry reeds snapping. Historians confirm Carthaginians traded tin and amber up the Loire, but none mention how their perfume could choke a boar. Your goats fidget in the pen, sensing the camel's musky stink. Strange beasts, all knobby knees and sneering lips. Your youngest swore they spat curses last market day. You dismissed it, till now. One merchant peels an orange, the scent ambushing your nose from 80 paces. Citruses came north via Roman roads, yet here they sit, enemies trading through gritted teeth. You set the milk jug by their latrine trench, a peace offering Epona might approve. Carthaginian traders allegedly used camels as bank vaults, swallowing gemstones for safekeeping. This explains the beast's haughty stares. A guard spots you, his bronze breastplate clanking like a poorly tuned lyre. He sniffs the milk, shrugs, drains half in one gulp. His beard drips white rivulets as he belches. Gaulish hospitality reeks of desperation, and Carthaginian manners reek of Carthage. You mutter, retreating into broom shadows. Their fire crackles louder, voices weaving through the crackling. They're debating in Punic, sharp consonants clashing like gladiators. One phrase repeats, Balhammon, not that you'd admit recognizing it. Scholars still argue whether Carthaginians practiced infant sacrifice. But tonight, they're clearly sacrificing a roasted goat. The camel eyes your retreat, its throat bulging with what you hope is cud. 3 merchants haul a crate from a wagon, blue glass beads spilling into mud. Every Gaulish child knows those beads ward off Roman curses and attract tax collectors. You pocket 2, then reconsider. Let the Romans chase Carthaginian mischief for once. Moonlight paints their banners, strange symbols like tangled fishing nets. Your sandal squelches on wet grass, the sound drowned by their discordant flute music. Carthaginians invented viticulture, but this vintage smells like fermented regrets. Back home, your husband snores by the dead hearth, Rioc's anvil still embedded in his curses. You wipe milk residue from your fingers, the scent clinging like a bad omen. That camel's stare follows you into fitful dreams, whispering of deserts where no baskets are needed. The first howl shreds night's veil, a jagged sound that stiffens your spine like cold iron. Dogs bolt beneath wagons, their whimpers clotting the air between huts. You're already pulling on boots, fingers numb from the dream desert's lingering heat. Ash wood binds creak under your palms, tightened yesterday. Now they groan like old men at spring thaw. Moonlit breath plumes from the sheepfold, 30 woolly lumps oblivious to danger. One ewe blinks at you, judging your life choices. Another howl ricochets off Druinch's oak, closer now. It doesn't sound natural. Too many notes twist through its cry, a drunken bard's lament. Grandmother swore wolves howled to drown out lovers. Quarrels, better a chilly marriage than wolf songs summoning Fomorians. Your sickle gleams dully in the moonwash. Romans paid soldiers extra for wolf pelts. Their scouts wore the fur to mute armor clatter. You've no pelt, just a rusty blade and prayer to Cernunnos. 3 torches bob toward the pen, neighbors clutching hay forks. Kai's beard bristles with sleep. Wolves hate fire, right? Depends, you mutter. These ones sing like they've swallowed Greek lyres. A shadow detaches from the tree line, too low for a wolf, too wide for a man. The sheep finally stir a wet panic rising in their throats. Bronze Age carvings show wolves herding cattle for the gods, noble partners, not thieves. Tonight's visitors lack divine manners. Their eyes reflect torchlight wrong amber discs with no depth. Someone's toddler wails, the sound snuffed quick as a candle. You press against the sheepfold, splinters biting your palms. A wolf steps into moonlight, muzzle frosted with something dark. Not blood clay. It sneezes, scattering red dust. Odors hit you, burnt honey, crushed vervain, the tang of a blacksmith's quenching barrel. Wolves don't raid sheepfolds, hisses the dyer's wife. These aren't wolves, you whisper. The lead beast coughs up a clump of rope, your rope, still knotted from yesterday's repairs. Historians still argue whether Gaulish sheepfolds bore hidden charms. You'd trade 10 theories for thicker rope right now. Torch flames gutter as the pack circles. Their leader drags its belly through mud, a twisted mimicry of submission. You recognize the posture. Carthaginian envoys did the same before your chieftain last moon. The thing whines a sound that vibrates your molars. Your sickle arm drops. Neighbors murmur as it retreats, haunches bristling with what might be quills or thorns. Dawn stains the horizon before anyone breathes easy. The sheepfold stands intact. No gaps, no blood, only hoofprints pressed too deep in soft earth, as if something heavy danced here. You snap a hazel branch, twinning it around the gate. Protection or an apology. Mist rises as the village stirs. By the eastern thorn bush, a clump of wolf fur glistens, except when you touch it. The strands crumble like dead ivy. Your husband finds you staring at the dust. Wolves shed, he grunts. Wolves don't shed terracotta. He sniffs the red powder coating your fingers, tastes like Etruscan pottery and bad decisions. The sun climbs, bleaching mystery into routine. But tonight, when the hearth dims, you'll watch the tree line extra close. And maybe leave an extra milk jug by the latrine trench. The mildew hits you first, sour and persistent, when you lift the reed bundle. Baby Lug's cradle remains unstarted. Strands meant for his first sleep now, bristling with gray fuzz. You count the rot patterns, 3 moons since his fever broke, 6 since you cut these reeds at the Einan's swollen banks. Rain drums the hut's thatch, rhythm mocking your idle loom. Even the spindle has more purpose. Wool unraveled, mended, unraveled again. The reeds crumble in your grip, their snap louder than Lug's first cry. Curse words rise. You swallow them with a swig of barley beer. Crossroads burials aren't for the living. Every child knows this. Yet here you are, muddy knees sinking into the intersection of goat paths. Britons left swords at crossroads after bad omens, their rusted blades pretending to be roots. You dig with a cracked plowshare, hands avoiding the reeds' soft spots. A wagon creaks past, oxen snorting at the drizzle. The driver eyes your shallow pit, burying debts or regrets. Mildew. He nods like it's the same thing, whips his team into mist. The reeds whisper as they hit earth, last flecks of stems that once bent to river songs. Historians still argue whether crossroads rituals appeased spirits or just kept plague items from village sightlines. Either way, you pat dirt harder than needed, 3 heartbeats per handful. Marigold seeds scatter from your belt pouch, golden promises to mask decay. Gauls once lined birthing cradles with these blooms, their pungent musk thought to repel restless shadows. You press each seed deep, wondering if their roots will braid with reed ghosts underground. Thunder growls, a weak imitation of last night's wolf song as you retreat. The crossroads mud already puckers, swallowing your offerings whole. Lug giggles in his sling fist, closing around raindrops. His other hand grips your braid, a merchant haggling for security. Back home, the empty corner gapes. You toss salt over the threshold, an afterthought. The dyer's wife claims rotting reeds attract house imps, little men who unstitch your best tunics. Your husband'll laugh, then check his sandal straps twice at dawn. Nightfall brings uneasy stillness. You dream of roots pushing upward, orange flowers blooming with woven cradles in their hearts. Lug's laughter rings from every petal until crows descend, beaks snapping stems like dried bones. At dawn, fresh shoots pierce the crossroads mud. Your marigolds rise 2 fast petals bruise-colored in the half-light. Neighbors mutter about Roman fertilizer magic legionaries planting victory gardens before battles. You say nothing, pour last autumn's wine on the soil. Lug sneezes as you pass the spot, a sound like a fledgling's first chirp. You keep walking, but your fingers brush the marigold's serrated leaves. They cling to your skin sticky, insistent, humming with yesterday's river songs. The mead stench hits before you cross the threshold. Fermented honey, undercut with goat fat torch smoke. Your brother's voice booms above the slurred ballads, a war chant about teaching Caesar's boys to swim. 12 empty cups clatter at his feet, proof he's too deep in Valhalla's cousin to shut up. Chieftain Viridio's slouches on the high bench bore tusks gleaming in his beard. Gaulish halls reeked of politics, and spilled ale, every feast a battleground for favors. You hover by the fire pit, embers biting your ankles as your brother slams a fist on the table. Another victory run to Gergovia. The red crests won't see our spears till we're pissing on their shields. A bard plucks a lyre 2 notes behind the chaos. Historians still argue whether chieftains fueled Roman invasions through reckless boasts, or just enjoyed terrifying their own tribesmen. You prod the coals, watch sparks mimic legionary formation. 3 benches over the blacksmith's widow knots dried vervain into door charms. Folklore claims it repels Latin whispers. Her fingers tremble, whether from age or last year's siege, nobody asks. A drunk vomits into the rushes. 2 dogs pounce, their slurping sinks with your brother's odes to unbroken Gallic pride. The chieftain leans forward, amber beads clacking, And how many warriors will your rant put in my warband, little badger? Laughter erupts, your brother's nickname, from when he face planted into a honeycomb. He reddens, grabs a serving girl's arm too tight, enough to drown Romans in their own piss wine. You flinch, Caesar's spies favored merchant caravans. Every fool's taunt a potential kindling. Last summer's raids left scorch marks on the southern barley fields. The widow catches your eye, slides a vervain sprig across the table. You tuck it into your sash. Pretend not to see her lips form Brennus, the chieftain who sacked Rome centuries back. Empty comfort. Torchlight gutters as the door bangs open, cold air slicing through beer fumes. A Roman helmet glints in a trader's satchel, bronze eagle beak warped from melting. Your brother whoops, jabs a finger. There, toss that scrap into the forge. We'll shit on it come sunrise. The trader freezes, calculating profit versus survival. Gauls once bought Roman wine by the amphora, served in cups engraved with their own gods. Now, it's all dented armor and trader sweat. Viridios waves the man forward, runs a thumb over the helmet's crest. How much for this souvenir? You edge toward the exit, ash dust clinging to your sandals. The widow's vervain pricks your hip. Outside, stars blur behind haze. If Rome did come, would their engineers even notice your reed baskets, or just crush them under hobnailed boots, like everything else? A hand yanks you back, your brother's breath hot with betrayal. Where's your fire, sister? We'll paint the Tiber red. His grip leaves ale-sticky stripes on your wrist. You stare at his thumb, pale, where a seal ring once sat, traded long ago for Greek wine. The chieftain tosses the helmet into the fire, bronze blackening like a curse. Cheers shake the rafters. Someone throws a dagger, blade quenching in the coals with a hiss. You murmur about checking Lug's cradle, slip into the starless night. Halfway home, an owl screeches. Your fingers find the vervain brittle leaves, crunching like distant, marching sandals. The mead hall's glow lingers behind you. A second moon, promising storms. Moonlight stripes your face through the hut's smoke hole, your eyelids heavy as river stones. Embers paint hawthorn branches on the wall, twisting, spiraling alive. You sink into straw bedding, the vervain sprig stashed under your pillow crunching like dead leaves. Dreams come swift, a loom stretching across starfields. Your fingers weave with gold thread. No, not thread. Sunbeams stolen from midsummer noon. The pattern writhes, a triple spiral devouring itself. Some say Gauls dyed cloth with woad and elderberries. But this blue shimmers like dragonfly wings. A shadow leans over the cosmic loom, grandmother's hands guiding yours. Mind the Selgovie knots. They hold the souls of unfinished baskets. Her voice echoes, though she's been ash these 12 winters. Historians still argue whether Celtic weavers encoded maps to sacred groves, or just liked pretty swirls. Your dream feet tread a path of half-formed reeds, their whispers sharp as unsung lullabies. A Roman road cuts across the landscape, straight as a spear shaft. Legionaries march past, their helmets sprouting raven feathers. One pauses, drops a clay tablet at your feet. It reads I, Itus Martius, smudged by a thumbprint stewed in garum. The dream shifts your back in Viridio's hall, but the benches writhe with baskets. Your brother's boasts unravel into willow strands, coiling around chieftains' throats. The blacksmith's widow hurls vervain like javelins, each sprig pinning a Roman shield to the dirt. You try to warn them about the eagle crest in the coals, but your tongue's made of rushes. A child's laugh pierces the haze. Your youngest levitates above the loom, fingers trailing comet sparks. Ma'am, look, I made dog without leash. His constellation dashes across the warp, a wonky Orion chasing stardust hares. Pre-Christian Celts likely saw bears, not hunters, in those stars. You'll never admit the kid's version's better. Something snaps, the gold thread bleeds into rust. The dream looms fracture, splinters becoming teeth, becoming spears. A voice booms, all roads lead to, but the rest drowns in molten bronze. You taste metal, wake gasping, palms stinging. Dawn leaks through the thatch, your right hand claws empty air. A phantom reed mark etches your skin, its ridges precise as basket weave. You rub the spot, half expecting to find hawthorn sap. The real reeds by the door sit motionless, unimpressed by night's theatrics. The vervain crumbles when you check, its protection spent or insufficient. Outside, Viridio's cockerel crows 3 hours late, probably drunk on fermented grain. Your brother's snores ricochet from his hut. You trace the fading welt on your palm. Was that grand scheme of loops a warning? Or just too much goat cheese before bed? Morning brings a headache and a mudded quernstone. As you grind barley, the dream's aftertaste lingers, burnt gold and legionary sweat. Your youngest skips in demands to weave the sky again. You hand him 3 bent twigs. Watch as he invents dog without leash version 2. By noon, the palm mark's gone. Only a faint itch remains, like promises whispered through a barred gate. You select reeds for the afternoon's work, fingers avoiding any that gleam too bright. Dust motes swirl where your sister's shuttle should fly. Her loom sits skeletal under a wolf pelt. That half-woven cloak mocks you, its emerald wool fraying at the edges. You brush a finger across the warp threads. They hum like bee stings. Madder root stains your nails scarlet as you add today's strand. Just one. Always just one. Kai's newborn wails 2 huts over the sound, shredding dawn's fragile peace. Your sister's wedding herbs dry above the loom, meadowsweet gone brittle. You imagine her laughing at the mess, a fine net for catching minnows. This, her ghost, wears unfinished cloth sleeves, trailing into the dirt. The scarlet thread glares against earthy greens, a wound that won't close. Gauls prized madder-dyed reds for bridal, where though yours came from a smuggled Roman pouch, you spit 3 times, left foot forward, despite their eagle-emblazoned dyes. A shadow ripples across the loom, Your husband ducks through the doorframe. He eyes the dormant frame, says nothing. His silence hangs heavier than the iron sickle at his belt. When he leaves, the air tastes less of rust. You count abandoned patterns in the dust. 17 days since her last stitch. The village whispers she ran with a Belgic trader, or drowned, harvesting nocturnal reeds. Historians still argue whether spiral motifs warded off Roman eyes, or just pleased Gaulish aesthetics. You know the truth, your sister hated straight lines. Midday sun warps the loom's frame, poplar wood groaning like an old hound. 3 hens peck at the threshold, their claws scritching rhythms only drunk roosters appreciate. You fling millet seeds, watch them chase invisible foes. Better strategists than Caesar's lot, you mutter. The scarlet thread won't lie flat. It kinks, rebels, skins your thumb. You swear in the tongue your mother called hill speak words that crack walnuts at 30 paces. A neighbor's dog howls in response. By the 3rd failed knot, you consider burning the cursed thing. But memory stays your hand, your sister, threading hawthorn blossoms into your braids, laughing as pollen haloed your scowl. The loom's silence throbs, louder than Viridio's feast drums. You stash the shuttle under your left breast, iron cold against sweat-damp skin. Some claim Gaulish weavers stitched curses into enemy tunics, letting frayed hems unravel legions. You'd settle for one completed cloak, one answered prayer. Twilight bleeds through smoke holes, the scarlet thread, now a faint scar in the weave. You sprinkle vervain ash across the petals, an old trick against lingering spirits. Across the village you reock, the potter smashes a flawed amphora. The crash suits your mood. Sleep comes fitfully, the loom's shadow stretching across your dreams. Your fingers move the shuttle, but the thread's Roman red bleeds into the wool. A voice whispers, Agricola's men prefer crimson cloaks, hides bloodstains better. You wake choking on imaginary dye fumes. Moonlight reveals what dawn hid, a fresh crack in the loom's top beam. You press your palm to the splintered wood. Feel the village's collective sigh. That's the trouble with holy groves and half-woven hopes. Both rot if left untended. The next scarlet thread goes in at cockcrow. No hesitation this time. Let the historians debate spirals and symbolism. Your fingers know what matters. One stubborn stitch, another. Snow crunches under your heel, the world gone, hushed beneath a woolen sky. That last scarlet thread from yesterday's weaving frosts your pocket. A stubborn ember against the white. Reed roofs sag like elders' shoulders, each creak sharper than a midwife's tongue. You mutter a curse meant for Caesar's engineers. Their fancy hypocausts couldn't outlast Gaulish thatch and spite. Children tumble past, bundled so thick they roll more than run. Their laughter bursts in vapor clouds. You half expect ravens to snatch the sounds midair. The baker's wife chases her toddling son. His mittened hand leaves dents in fresh powder. Fetching way to map Roman troop movements, you call, She lobs a snow clod in reply. Your breath etches sigils on the hut's high door. Inside, the hearth coughs smoke, pine resin sizzling like a druid's secret. 12 baskets already line the wall, rough hands, weaving even rougher pragmatism. Frozen kindling won't split itself, though your youngest tried yesterday. His axe still wedges a stump out back, handle pointing skyward like a defeated standard. You unwind damp reed bundles, their edges glitter with captive starlight. Northern tribes packed snow between wattle walls for insulation. You settle for stuffing gaps with your husband's discarded beard trimmings. The smell lingers feral, earthy, better than Roman perfume oils any day. Fingers numb, you dip hands in the cooling porridge pot. Historians love debating whether Gauls crafted snowshoes from calfskin and willow. But frostbite cares little for scholarly squabbles. Across the valley, a muffled crack echoes, some fool testing thin ice over the Einan. You make the horned sign of Sernanos, just in case. The dye vat freezes solid, madder roots suspended like veins in marble. Your sister's unfinished cloak mocks from its peg snowflakes settling where her face should be. You flick goat milk at it, the drops hiss and skitter. Across 3 generations, no one's perfected dairy-based ghost deterrents. Midday brings the smith's boy trudging up the slope, his sled piled with bog iron. He stamps blue toes by your fire, avoids mentioning the abandoned loom. You trade him a basket for 3 rusted nails, proper currency, since the Romans taxed local coinage. His grin flashes, teeth chattering an ode to poor life choices. Twilight bleeds purple across the snowdrifts. You unravel a moth-eaten tunic, wool strands mingling with fresh reeds. Some Hellenic scribe once wrote that Gauls urinated on icy paths to melt them. A tale best shared while handing your husband the night bucket. His groan shakes icicles from the eaves. The village well's pulley squeaks like a tortured spirit. You haul up water, glazed with ice shards. 12 baskets, 20, 30 fingers moving without consent. Historians still argue whether our winter songs predated Roman chorales. But the wind's answer needs no translation. Moonrise finds you gnawing frozen curd, a culinary betrayal, only hunger excuses. Your daughter exhales sharply, breath curling into rabbit shapes above the embers. You mimic her, producing something between a wolf and a pregnant ewe, an improvement on your weaving. She deadpans, ducking your snowball with unsettling grace. Dawn's first light reveals paw prints encircling the sheepfold, too large for foxes, too precise for wolves. You scatter ash and juniper berries. The wolf gods laugh at such offerings. The blacksmith's wife claims they're just starving lynxes, but her Latin accent thickens when lying. By midday, the snow tastes of pine smoke and distant storms. You weave the last basket, its rim puckered like a dissatisfied elder. Somewhere south, legionaries shiver in their drafty barracks. Let them. Your people mastered cold centuries before conquering warm valleys. before time itself became something to measure in coins and conquests. The village bells fall silent, choked by snow. You teach your youngest to whistle through a reed stalk. His melody fractures into crystalline notes. They'll call it music when Romans do it, witchcraft when we don't. The scarlet thread burns in your pocket, a promise thawing one stitch at a time. The hearth's final flames lick charred oak, their dance reflected in 12 baskets along the wall. Your numb thumb traces each rim, naming them like rain-starved crops. Sorrow thief for the lopsided, one your youngest wove, as functional as a Roman senator's hat. Night weaver for the patched elderberry reed piece, its mends outnumbering original strands. Frost paints the cramped hut. Roman aqueducts may fuel their bathhouses, but Gaulish thatch needs no steam to whisper warmth. Your daughter snores into a goat hide breath, misting the storm's cradle basket at her feet. Historians still argue whether our patterns inspired their mosaics, but you've seen traders' scrolls. All straight lines and laurel leaves, no room for river bends or crow's feet. The scarlet thread warms against your thigh, its dye brewed 3 moons past. Some claim Tyrian purple faded faster than Gaulish madder, though no one asked the snails. You toss juniper berries into the embers, their smoke curls like a druid's cursive. The baker's 3rd miscarriage sits heavy in your throat. The silent harvest basket waits by his door. Northern tribes used burnt mammoth ivory for thread needles. Your people make do with fox bone. The last flame gurgles, drowning in its own wax. Across the valley, wolf howls stitch the dark. Your brother's hounds answer in fractured yips. Fingers graze the veil's edge basket, its reeds soaked in moonwater and widow's tears. Romans write tragedies about Phaedra and Medea. We live hours in misplaced kindling and rusted shears. Your husband's snores sink with the thawing roof drips, a rhythm older than Caesar's siege engines. That Carthaginian trader once swore squid ink cured lung rot. You'd rather trust grandmother's snail slime poultice. Dawn scratches at hide curtains. Gray light reveals paw prints around oak heart. The basket meant for spring seedlings. You sprinkle ember ash in the tracks, a petty defiance against unseen hunger. The smith's wife swears frozen urine whitens linens. You'll stick to stale snow and spite. Children's voices pierce the frost. Their boots crunch toward the market square. You load baskets onto the sledge. Rough hemp rope bites your palms. Swift foot nearly topples, its uneven base mocking Roman road builders. Let them have their straight paths. The gods made ankles for uneven terrain. The chieftain's tax collector squints at your wares. His abacus beads click like beetle shells. 3 baskets claimed for tribal defense, meaning his mistress's new jewelry box. You count the remaining 9. Their shadows stretch thin on packed ice. A passing bard hums the tune suspiciously, like a legion's marching song. At midday, you trade frost-blooded for salt and a dented sickle. The fishmonger's daughter hides her swollen belly behind mother's whisper. It's weaved tight enough to hold secrets. They say Cleopatra bathed in ass's milk. Your sister uses fermented goat whey. Results are debatable. Twilight brings the cooper's apprentice, hands shaking, as he offers walnuts for son's farewell. His sweetheart works the legion's laundry tents, safer than dye vats, but saltier than tears. You add extra hazel twigs to the rim, a coward's blessing. 2 baskets remain as stars emerge, their names swallowed by the cold. Unbroken stays propped by your loom, waiting for the sister who may never stitch crimson again. The last, no name yet, sits heavy with the day's unsold weight. Night's chill gnaws through woolens. You place the nameless basket atop the woodpile. Kindling crackles beneath it, painted reeds curling like Gaulish ancestors in Roman flames. The scarlet thread finally slips from your pocket, unraveling into smoke-scented air. Let scholars debate whether embers or memories burn brighter. The answer dances, unnamed, in the shape of tomorrow's ash. The hearth's breath fades to orange size. Embers pulse like a tired heartbeat against 12 silent baskets. Your calloused thumb brushes sorrow thief, its lopsided curves cradling the weight of small, clumsy hands. Frost lingers on the thatch, a fragile lace no Roman steam could mimic. Daughter's snores muffle into goatskin, her cheek pressed to storm's cradle, where dreams pool like spilled honey. Scholars quarrel over mosaics and laurel leaves. You know the truth lives in crooked reeds and foxbone needles. Scarlet thread still hums against your leg, a madder-soaked hymn older than imperial dyes. Juniper smoke fades to silver wisps, carrying prayers too tender for daylight. Some losses knit tighter than baskets, like the silent harvest, holding what words cannot. Wolf song weaves through the valley, a tapestry of hunger and answer. Your husband's breath drums steady as thawing earth, a rhythm no siege engines could shatter. Vale's edge gleams faintly, its moonwater threads, holding the quiet ache of winters past. Let emperors clutch their squid ink, cures your palms, know the solace of snail slime and spite. Dawn's feeble light claws through hides, revealing paw prints circling oak heart. You scatter ash over their hunger, a small defiance whispered to stubborn soil. The market's din feels distant now, replaced by the creak of hemp ropes and 9 remaining shadows. Swift foot wobbles, a laughing reminder that ankles bend where stone roads cannot. Stars bloom overhead, cold and countless. Unbroken rests by the loom, its empty curves a cradle for hope's slow return. The nameless basket sinks into kindling, reeds curling like old hands in the flames. Scarlet thread unravels at last, its smoke twisting into stories no scholar's scroll will hold. Embers dim to ash-gray whispers, the hut exhales. Some warmth persists in snores that sink with dripping eaves, in palms still stained with matter, in the quiet certainty that dawn's basket will always find a name. Let the fire die. Tomorrow's coals already stir beneath the ashes, patient as frost, soft as a child's breath, undyed thread. Sleep follows, slow, deep, cradled in the loom's unspoken promise.